Okay, I'm confused, so I'm just gonna put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I counted at least 5 times.
Yeah.
For the main sampler, I think I at least sold $68.
Wow, that's a lot.
Wait, because if you want to get a 4-pack coasters, it was 6 tickets. And if you want to get one, it's 2.
What?
Maybe a lot. Perfect.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mini sample.
Oh.
Yeah, mini sample.
Okay, let's very careful. Very careful.
Can we grab snacks?
Yes, quick.
I need to read these. Those are
Ah. Those aren't Doritos. I think I might have actually grabbed the last bag.
Happens.
That's okay, I'll just have some.
Remember, be careful with all those wires.
Yeah, I'll just have some barbecue chips.
Ooh, those are really good.
I love them. I don't really like barbecue chips.
We had Santa Zoom with my nephew. He says he loves the Humpty Dumpty barbecue chips and the Moxie. And he likes Moxie. Yeah. Okay,
I don't agree with
my
those
view of
tastes.
Moxie is this. I'm okay with it going down. It's the aftertaste that affects me. I do not like the aftertaste of Moxie. Going down, if I'm just keeps chugging it down without breathing or anything, or stopping, I am good. After that, though, it's like, ugh.
What affects me is that my mom doesn't let me have soda like
Yeah.
that. She doesn't let me have caffeinated drinks.
I don't know.
She lets Colton rarely have coffee. She probably let me too, except the fact that I don't like coffee.
I don't like it either. My dad tried to get me into it when I was a kid. Tried to self-medicate me. He tried Mountain Dew too. That didn't work
You're
either.
the first grown-up I've met who doesn't like coffee and still has a very small amount of their sanity intact.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna finish up the case for Christmas today. So today is going to be on the prophetic fingerprint.
What's that?
We're going to learn.
Okay.
So N.T. Wright, so he's been in a couple of the other Case for Christ videos. He's a big English, he's not really a priest, but he kind of is a priest. He's part of the Church of England, which they kind of still have priests, but it's complicated. They're just like the Catholic Church, but there's some differences.
What are the differences?
They believe in people can get married. They don't answer to a pope. They answer to whoever the king or queen of England is. That's really it. Like that I can think of. There might be more. They do believe in different versions of salvation, but they do other stuff. So they do confessions like Catholics do. They do infant baptisms. They do communion like the same way.
Okay, I remember, like, do churches today still, like, sell indulgences?
I don't know if the Catholic Church still does. I think they stopped it, but I don't know if they brought it back. And if they did bring it back, I think they might have said that it doesn't fully save the person. But again, I haven't fully studied that anyways.
Because I know, like, that is very false. They
Yeah.
don't get you to heaven.
That's how it wasn't just buying yourself into heaven. It was buying people that were in your life that died into heaven too.
Oh, yeah.
Do most people or most churches do baptisms anymore?
Pretty much every church does some type of baptism. Every denomination. Baptist, we wait for you to be of the age of accountability. This means you have to show that you understand what you're doing. You've made a commitment. We've seen you change from when you made that commitment to that moment you want to get baptized.
Like teenager age? Like
Yeah.
Teenager,
we don't throw away kids from getting baptized, but it's very.
They have to be very mature.
Yeah, pastor will literally sit down with them and their parents and make sure it's not the parents that are kind of encouraging this. It's not the friends that are encouraging it. It was the kid that came up with this idea themselves. But yeah, so some And there's other churches, so like Pentecost. Some Pentecostals believe in infant baptism, some don't. And certain other things. But everyone does have some type of baptism. Usually a church will accept baptisms from other denominations. So like even though I probably should get rebaptized because I don't know if I was really saved when I first got baptized, my baptism would probably be accepted by most Baptist churches and other churches, denominations. So if I want to go Presbyterian or Anglican, they probably would accept it. Some churches, like the Baptist church, we might not accept an infant baptism person. So, like, if let's say one of you guys came and wanted to become members of the church, and we're like, "Well, were you ever baptized?" You'd be like, "Well, yeah, we were baptized as an infant." I was like, "Okay, let's sit down and talk about this." We actually had one guy recently. He got baptized with just the youth watching him because he felt that he shouldn't have got baptized when he was, I think, a kid or a baby. So
My church doesn't believe in infant baptism, which I agree with.
no, I totally agree with that. We're okay with putting oil on a baby. It's like you call it holy oil, where you put oil on like your finger, and it's like anointing a kid, kind of.
Rub it on them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you don't dunk a baby or dump oil. Like, you put like I was talking to pastor because what we usually do with babies is we dedicate them to the church, meaning. So let's say, your parents had you guys as babies. They would come into the church and they say, we dedicate this church. We are going to hold ourselves accountable to raise these kids. And we're asking for the church congregation to help us. So it's kind of like holding the parents accountable to raise you and just holding the church to raise you too the right way. And pastor's like, if a family asked me to do some oil or something on the kid, I'll do it. He's like, I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to, But if a parent's like, we kind of want to do something like that for our kid, instead of baptizing, we want to do that during the dedication. He's like, okay, I can do that.
Because, like the child, they can't choose
Yeah.
if they want to be
That's
baptized.
not like.
And the parents don't know what's going to happen the next year, 5 years, 10 years. They might walk away from their faith, and the kid's like, well, I'm baptized, I'm fine. Because a lot of people, even the early church, some of the Baptists even believe once you're baptized, you're good to go to heaven. When it's not really that. It's your belief in God. Baptism is a symbol of your belief in God publicly, but you need to have it internally before you can do it.
That's my problem with people that baptize their children as infants. Like, you don't let them choose obviously, as a parent, your responsibility is to guide them towards a better path.
But to them,
your job is not to control your child.
Yes, but look at it this way for them. They're thinking that they're doing the best for their kid. If you thought it's something you're doing the best for your kid, and that's what everyone else is telling you, wouldn't you probably do it?
Probably.
Yeah.
If it went with my beliefs.
Yeah, but it's like I used to watch this TV show with my mom. It's ended recently called Young Sheldon. It's a spinoff of The Big Bang Theory. And one of the last couple episodes, the two moms are fighting over the newborn baby. You had a Baptist, you had a Catholic. The Baptist doesn't believe in childbirth, and she finally talked her pastor into doing a child baptism, baby baptism, in the kitchen sink of her house.
What?
Because she wants to save her kid's soul from the Catholic. Well, then the Catholic mom kidnapped her grandkid, took her to the Catholic church, and had her baptized as a Catholic. So to them, they're doing what they think is right for their grandkid, without looking at their kids' best interests.
Wait, there are two moms of the same child?
No, grandmothers.
Oh,
You had a
made me
Baptist
concerned.
grandmother. You had a Catholic grandmother.
Oh.
Because most people have at least two grandmas.
Yep. But yeah, so N.T. Wright says in his, I don't know if it's his book or his thing, Surprised by Hope, we could cope. The world could cope with a Jesus who ultimately remains a wonderful idea inside his disciples' minds and hearts. The world cannot cope with a Jesus who ignites God's new creation right in the middle of the old one.
Did it say inaugurates?
Where?
Right
No,
after
and then-
Jesus, ...
I think it's integrates. Integrates.
Integrate is INTERGRATES.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let me put this.
And world is WORLD.
Yes, I noticed that mistake. That's why I
Did it
Wait,
get
where?
autocorrected?
I must have.
Yeah, I hate autocorrect. Sometimes. Other times it saves my butt.
And other times it doesn't, and I want to do it.
Oh, I think that.
And other times it makes me look like a fool.
Mm-hmm.
One time, like, I was texting a friend, and I think the word, what was the word?
Monkey.
Okay, perfect. We're back.
I think the word chip. I think the word chips translated to idiot.
So, okay. So, other than, because I think this is Anna's first time doing this lesson series here, right? I think you've missed them all.
Case,
Yeah.
it's for doing
Okay,
case
so
studies.
subtract what I've taught you these last couple weeks, and I want you to tell me, what have you been taught about the Christmas story?
Ooh, I don't know.
That Jesus probably wasn't born.
Well, what I'm saying is, besides what we taught, so what were you taught before that? Like when you first came into the series, what was your first thought about what Christmas was all the story about Jesus?
That they rode on a donkey. It was an emergency. They're knocking frantically on indoors.
Okay, yeah. Anybody else have anything else to add? That's pretty good. So yeah, we're talking, Mary and Joseph were coming down riding a donkey. When they got to the town, it was time for the birth, and they had to rush around and try and find a place to stay, but there was no room for them in any inn. So they had to take a cave stable to stay in. They gave birth, shepherds came, and wise men came at the same time right away. The wise men names were Gasper, also Casper, Jasper, all these, Bethuselah, and Melchior.
Why do most of them rhyme?
Because this happened 100 years ago. So remember, Jesus was born around 2,000 years ago. The Italian church came up with the names of 3 wise men. So they just randomly came up with some names.
Oh, so the wise men didn't have stated names.
We don't have any stated names, but there are people out there that says, oh yeah, we know at least 3 of their names. So
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
don't think so.
That's why they say that.
Yep. Okay, so what are some other myths and add-ons that people talk about the story of Jesus' birth? You kind of said one when you're trying to say, well, we know that his birthday was not blank.
December 25th.
So yeah, so December, people think that Jesus' birth is really on December 25th. Any other myths or add-ons or lore that was added to the story?
Maybe his birth wasn't in December?
Yeah.
That's what we think.
Anything else? Any other myths or legends? Because I think we talked a little bit on Wednesday about some.
Well, I know there is more because of the way you're saying it.
I like your thinking right there. That's good.
He's being smart for once.
Okay, so these are a few that I had. Mary was special, and what I mean by special, yes, she was special, but
Not before God chose her.
yes, she wasn't like some people say her parent. An angel came down to her parents and said, "Oh, you're gonna have a daughter. She's gonna be not sin whatsoever. She's gonna be a virgin all of her life."
Technically, she wasn't a virgin all her life.
No, she was, but I'm just saying these are some. This is what some people say about Mary that makes her supposedly special and chosen so long ago.
She was chosen, but she's not
Yeah. So her parents were old, wanted to have kids. They prayed for kids. They said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have a daughter. She's gonna be working for God. She's gonna do all this stuff."
That Mary wasn't a virgin her whole life.
Yes, and like we said about a lot of the Catholics believe that she was a virgin the rest of her life, and that she was sinless all of her life, and her mom was sinless too.
Well, they obviously forgot about Joseph. So.
Yes. And Jesus' brothers in the Bible and sisters. He had a couple sisters, I believe.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Joseph
Is
was.
John the Baptist?
That's
He's
his
a cousin.
Okay.
Remember James and Jude? They wrote books in the Bible. They're his brothers. They're some of his brothers. They did not believe in Jesus as the Messiah. They kind of made fun of him all the time.
Oh,
But then they came to know him after he passed away and rose from the dead and came
and
to
then they
be.
finally started
And
believing.
James actually was just as equal with Paul pretty much when you talk about leaders in the church. Even though he wasn't an apostle, he was just a regular leader. Joseph was some rich guy.
No,
Could
I
have
don't think
been.
so.
But remember what we talked about scripturally. Does it show that he was ever rich?
No.
Because Mary did what during her purification ritual?
What purification?
So, since you're the only woman here, Anne, I'm sorry.
No,
Oh
you're brother.
no.
Huh?
Oh dear.
So let's say Anne has a kid. She
who?
is technically counted as unpure. No person can be around her really until after a certain amount of time after giving birth,
You
and then
have to give a sacrifice.
you have to give a sacrifice
Oh.
to pure yourself. If you had a male son, you're unpurified for less time. If you had a girl, it was longer. But the sacrifice was either a lamb, if you could afford it, or two turtle doves, or 2 pigeons. They were in the Bible talks about pigeons and turtle doves. We believe it to be turtle doves. So in other words, if they get 2 turtle doves, there's 1 or 2 reasons they did turtle doves. What's one reason?
You're poor.
They're poor. What's another reason?
Turtle doves are sheep.
Yeah. So they would be.
Easy to kill.
Well, no, but they would be called. What do we call people? Well, yeah, they'd be called. They'll cheat. They're cheating God. They're cheap.
Cheapskate.
They're cheapskates. Yes. In other words, they'll be like they're sinning against God by not getting a lamb if they were rich.
By taking advantage of
Yes,
them.
because there's other people that could have used that sacrifice that really needed it then. So, in other words, yeah, Joseph and Mary are these poor people. Mary's family was important in Jewish religion. Well, some people have said that.
Do we even know much about her?
We don't know anything about her family except for the names of her father because they're the genealogy.
I'm pretty sure that
Genealogy?
her father once have been like a guard at the temple.
Well, some rumors state that he was a lead scribe, a protector of the scrolls.
That's what I meant.
But he's from the tribe of Judah.
Yeah.
You can't do anything in the temple if you're from the tribe of Judah. Only
Why?
because God chose the tribe of Levi to do everything in the temple.
Oh.
So tribe of Levi, they were the head priest. Moses and Aaron were parts of the tribe of Levi. Aaron was the first ever head priest. Then Aaron's kids became the priests and head priests.
So basically, any big chosen church leader was from the tribe of Levi.
Yes, every person that worked with, and then you would have these other sub tribes of Levi that were from them, but they were just the ones that did the work. They moved the tabernacle when it came time to do the tabernacle. They did they helped with some of the sacrifices. They helped with cleaning the temple. They helped with other stuff, but they weren't priests technically.
Was Paul part of the tribe of Levi?
No.
So why did he?
Because he was a Sadducee Pharisee.
Oh, what?
So they were religious leaders, but they were really just students and teachers of the law. Once the exiles came in, that people would teach, but to do work in the temple, you had to be part of the Levites.
Didn't he work in the?
No, he worked. Only thing that he ever did was he was part of like the government, but he'd also be a teacher.
So government and church are kind of the same, but also.
Yeah, they're kind of the same, and they're kind of separate. Like I said, you have Pharisees and Sadducees. They're kind of like our Senate and our Congress. They were the ones that kind of, when Jesus was taken for trial, he went in front of the Pharisees and Sadducees. The people that were in charge of the law were Levites. They were priests. But the people that voted were from any tribe, as long as they showed promise and stuff.
What would you need to do to show promise?
Remember, we talked about you have to study the whole entire Bible by memory without looking at it.
Oh.
And you're supposed to be finished with the first 5 or 10 books.
First 5 before you come of the age of 12 or 13.
Okay, well, I would not.
No offense, Pam, but it's not for girls. It's for the guys.
Haha, you can't vote.
At least
You go to education, but you can only learn certain books
Okay.
and
Like
certain
Proverbs,
passages.
like Psalms,
And you-
Psalms, Proverbs, parts of Leviticus, parts of Deuteronomy,
You
some
can't
of
choose
these.
what books in the Bible you read.
No, they don't get to choose. They get.
I mean, Psalms and Proverbs is pretty good.
Okay. And then after you get to the 12, 13, you're sent home to work with your mom to learn how to run a house. So that then you can be a good Jewish girl and get married.
At the age
No.
of like 16.
No.
Or younger.
No.
Okay, another law, another myth. Mary's family, hey guys, Mary's family lived in Jerusalem near the temple. So we don't have, like I said, like as you said, we don't have any record of any of Mary or Joseph's family except for the genealogy parts. We don't know
What is
anything.
genealogy?
Genealogy is Cam, the son of Joss, the son of whoever his father is, the son of his father, all the way to the very beginning.
Adam.
Yeah, all the way to Adam. If you can find your way all the way to Adam.
Wait, hold on. But then, like, the people, the descendants of Adam, didn't they, like, get killed and then... Didn't we
Okay,
technically
so
come
remember.
from Noah?
No. But who did Noah come from? Did he just burn out of the ground like there was no tomorrow?
Like that guy that came from Iraq with a hat.
Or was he a relative of Adam?
I guess.
Yeah, he was a relative of Adam.
Oh,
He's a great,
tell
great,
Anna about the hat guy.
We'll get to that a little bit. Okay. Some people I've heard say that after Jesus' birth, they went straight to Nazareth. So when Herod went to Bethlehem, he was kind of just looking for a loose thing. No, they stayed in Bethlehem for a while.
I thought they went
Until he
to
was
Egypt.
2.
Yes, but they stayed in Bethlehem. They got a house and everything until Jesus was 2, roughly 2, 1.5 to 2. Herod came to kill all babies 2 and under. They ran into Egypt until Herod died. And I'm also a backtrack on that. Some people even say, "Oh, he sent assassins to Egypt to try to kill Jesus." We don't have any facts of that. He would have thought he probably killed the kid because he killed so many people.
Yeah.
Jesus' birth, of course, was on December 25th. We've all heard. So what have we learned so far? We've been learning about the different parts of the Christmas story. So, you guys remember the Greek word?
Oh. I know that meant guest room.
Okay, you know what it means guest room. Does anyone know remember what the name is?
Shelgato?
No.
Yashiro?
No, but it starts with a K, and it sounds like a K.
Kayaba?
Calamity.
Catalima, and it means guest room.
I said calamity.
Huh?
Catalima.
So it's Catalima.
Oh, Catalima.
Catalima. Now you can go home and say, I know how to say guest room in Greek.
I don't know how to say you're weak in Japanese.
So, but it takes the place of inn. Remember, we all got told the story. There was no room in the inn.
Or
Yep.
the cat? No.
But it's really no room in the Catalima or guest room. Some people might say it as no room at all.
The L is really like when you do it through it, your tongue goes neck.
Yep.
Catalima.
So, what did we learn week 2? You guys, that's only on YouTube.
Yeah, was it later?
Different legends and myths that people say Christians stole from to create the birth story of Jesus Christ. The guy, Buddha, Alexander the Great, I think it's Christoph of India.
He was like just a human.
Alexander the Great, yeah. But do you know that his mom claimed that he is the son of Zeus?
Okay, she's delusional.
But in those days, if you were going to be a king, you claimed to be the son of a god, especially the main god. You see, Egyptians say, "I'm the son of Ra, the sun god."
Of their religion.
Okay. Now, since you guys could know the person, do you remember the name?
What person?
What person was supposed to be born of a virgin, born on December 25th, had 12 disciples, sacrificed himself for the world, was buried in a tomb, and 3 days later rose from the dead? Did you raise your hand thinking it was Jesus?
Yeah.
It doesn't
I
start
got
with a J.
so don't worry. I got them, and I also got Pastor. Because he knew it, but he's like, "Are you trying to trick me?"
Wasn't it the person with the hat?
If you remember the name,
No.
want to take a guess?
Yashawala?
Omasamakan.
Oh.
Mithrius. Now the problem, because Anna wasn't here, the problem is he was not born of a virgin.
He was born of a rock.
Yeah, he came out of a rock, fully formed, with his hat on.
And they are very insistent.
They're very
on the
insistent
hat.
on the book about the hat.
Why
And-
is he standing up?
What is that?
What animal
Richard,
is
I
that?
can't see.
An ox.
It's an ox.
That's a
Oh.
very curvy sword, don't you think?
That's a snake.
That's
What?
That's the sword.
Wait, I can't see.
So you got a snake.
Oh, it looked like it was going through, so I thought.
Yeah, no. Now again, his followers come to say that he was born the 25th. Now again, even if it was true, we don't believe Jesus was born the 25th, so we can't be stealing that. The only reason we think he had 12 followers is because there's a picture with 12 people around him.
Okay, to be fair, some people do believe he was born on the 25th.
Yeah,
But
there are some people
a lot
like that.
of people.
Again, now when was Jesus born? I'm going to see what Anna thinks. You think December 25th?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys?
March 20th to March 25th.
Okay, you want to add any more to that?
March or April 2025.
We don't.
2020.
So we know around the spring. Some people
Oh.
think the fall, possibly. Some believe the exact date is the 20th of March. Others say April to May, somewhere around that.
And they believed that when the person died,
Yeah.
that their birthday was 9 months before that.
Yeah. So supposedly they think that Jesus died around, I think it was like March 25th. That's when he died on the cross. So in Jewish tradition, they say if a prophet died, the day that they died was the day that they were conceived, which means their mom became pregnant with them. You add 9 months later, you get December 25th.
And we celebrate December 25th.
Yep.
Because that's when the wise men were prophesied to arrive.
Yes. So as we said, there's three theories. One theory has some merit, but not a lot. That's the Pope. The Pope wanted a celebration during a major pagan holiday, so they produced this holiday because he wanted to try to turn the pagans to Christianity.
Oh.
And sometimes the easy thing is just to add to what they're doing and just make it Christianized. So again, there is some truth to this, but not a lot. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's the only." I'm like, no, there's way more than just that. Again, like you said, the ancient tradition. And then we have the Star of Bethlehem, which they believe the Star of Bethlehem stopped on top of Bethlehem December 25th of, I think it was like 2
You should have been
BC
there
or...
for the movie.
She had horse practice that day.
But seriously, it was really good.
Okay, so now we're gonna start the lesson. So, what does Jim Carrey, George C. Scott, now don't take any guesses yet because I actually have pictures of these guys to help you out.
What?
Oh, whoops.
I think you went the
What
wrong
is happening?
way.
Okay, so what does Jim Carrey, George C. Scott, Albert Finley, Tim Curry, Kelsey Grammer, Patrick Stewart, Michael Caine, Walter Matthau, All-Star Sim, and Scrooge McDuck have in common?
Scrooge McDuck? What's he doing?
They're all Christmas characters.
In anything particular?
I know Scrooge.
Are they all Grady and Wesley?
I know
So here's a
They all
picture
look
of all of these people
They all
that we've
look
named.
old.
They all look old.
Is that
Yeah.
Scrooge McDuck?
That is Scrooge McDuck.
Oh,
A lot of them are balding.
What about poor Jim Carrey here? Okay, if you still haven't figured it out, They all relate to the year 1843.
How was I
Is that their
supposed
birthday?
to know that?
Do these guys look like they were born all in 1843?
So
Well,
190
technically-
years ago. I
Well,
don't even know what
technically, Scrooge McDuck is a video game
That is
/
true.
TV character.
So any guesses what they have in common with the year 1843?
What even
That's
happened in 1843?
Some sort of historical event.
No.
that's where the movies they were in took place.
And what movies were they in?
Disney movies?
Some are Disney, some are not.
Christmas movies?
Yeah.
It was like where three spirits came upon to.
Get in there, yeah.
Oh,
You know what it's
oh.
called?
Christmas Carol.
Yes!
What is in the Christmas Carol?
A Christmas Carol. They all played Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol in their own different movies.
Like, I literally watched that movie every single Christmas.
So
I
you
don't
figured it
like that
out.
Name.
So it's-
Ebenezer.
It's safe to say Dickens, he's the guy that wrote this book, never imagined his story would be performed in theaters, on radio, on television, and in the movies. And not just with live actors, Ebenezer Scrooge has found success as an animated cartoon character, being played by such people as Scrooge McDuck, Yosemite Sam, Fred Flintstone, and Mr. Magoo.
Magoo.
Who's Mr. Magoo?
It's a cartoon show from a long time ago.
Was it in your childhood?
It was before my childhood.
That
Oh.
plug is.
But I did watch it.
Aren't you a boomer?
I am not a boomer.
Richard, that plug is like slowly.
It's whatever. It's whatever right now. Attempted to determine which human actor played the best Ebenezer Scrooge is as perilous as trying to determine which human actor played the best James Bond. Can you put your phone away?
I was looking up Boomer.
No. That way, no. Everyone has their favorite. All the movies' adaptations put their own spin on the classic tale, but the primary plot line remains the same, the transformation of the story's main character, Scrooge. So many people have attempted to describe Scrooge, but the best description comes from Dickens himself. He was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Early on in the story, we see his absolute contempt for Christmas. In one heated exchange with his nephew, he says, if I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should. The leads to famous visits from these three ghosts: Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future.
Wait, but there's also the Christmas.
All together?
Yeah, there's the one that doesn't have a face.
The Grim Reaper?
Yeah, no, that's Christmas future.
Oh, that is?
Yeah, that's Christmas future.
Then what's the last?
That's the last one.
Oh, that is the last.
So it goes his partner, then it goes Christmas past, Christmas present, then Christmas future.
I think you're a little red there.
Okay, who ultimately produced the desired effects on old Scrooge. By the end of the tale, the result is a new and changed man. Scrooge was better than his word. He became as good a friend, as good a master, as good a man as the good old city knew.
So was he a slave owner?
No, just 1 second. Or any other good old city, town, or bureau in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alternation in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter at the onset. No, in English days, a master was somebody that had land, or was like a boss in something.
I thought of like a slave owner or someone who owned maids.
No,
that's what I thought.
He had his own house, but he had his own business, so he'd been called a Master Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah.
Master McScrooge.
Yep. The message of the gospel is that because Jesus came to this world we can also become new creations. See for 2 Corinthians 2:17. Anyone want to look at that?
Oh, I didn't remember.
What verse did you say?
He's going to look it up.
2 Corinthians
Yep.
2:13.
2:17.
Corinthians?
Yep.
Okay.
1 Corinthians.
No, second.
Oh, 2 Corinthians. Just don't listen to
2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 17.
For the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom.
Perfect. When sin entered the world in the Garden of Eden, it separated us from God, but God, in His mercy, promised to send a Savior to restore the relationship. As the Lord declared through the prophet Isaiah, the Redeemer will come to Zion, to those in Jacob who repent of their sins, Isaiah 59:20. The Old Testament writers made numerous other references to the coming of this Messiah, who would free God's people from their sins. The Old Testament is filled with these biographical statements called prophecies that serve like a modern fingerprint to identify this person. And as we will see in this session, only Jesus matches this precise prophetic fingerprint.
I need to use the restroom.
Okay, be quick. So, before we watch this, how many times will you guess you've watched A Christmas Carol?
4 times. I've seen this.
You did not grow up in my house.
I watched the McDuck and
Yeah?
the Cat in the Hat one. Or not Cat in the Hat. Nature Cat one.
Oh, yeah.
We watched the Puppet one and
Oh, yeah, Muppets. That's a good one.
another one, which was the one where he's like, taxi guy. I forgot which one it was.
Oh, I think that's a really newer one. Yeah. I forgot what that one is.
The theater and there's that Frozen person.
I think I've seen that one. Yeah. No, let's put it this
I
way.
which one it's called.
Let's put it this way. This is my dad's favorite movie. I have seen every single one of them, at least multiple times.
Even the Nature Cat one?
I don't think I've seen that one yet. There's even one that there was a mistake in. That they put in the video. It's old black and white one, where when he's at the end where he's all excited, he's changed and everything. They have a camera guy that you can see in the mirror when he's standing there, and you can actually see the guy there just standing there like this in the mirror, and you're like, you really put that in the movie.
I will try to edit it out.
Back then, it was hard to edit too.
Yeah, you couldn't like go register.
So, which is your favorite version and why?
Scrooge McDuck.
You like the Scrooge? Why do you like that one?
Duck.
Just because it has the duck in it.
Yes.
I
Okay.
like the puppet one.
You like the puppet one? That's a big popular one. I know Pastor's favorite is the Patrick Stewart one, but they always play the Muppet one because it's his wife's favorite, and also they have Jaws. Well, it's kind of hard to play the other ones with Jaws. That one's a little bit closer to age appropriate.
That ball that connects your foot and your leg. Oh, that's just puppet.
The what?
Okay, so now, even though you picked your favorite one, is there an actor you liked the most from a different one or the same one and the one that you liked the most?
I also liked his
Your
nephew, Huey.
Wasn't it Donald that was his nephew in the video?
No, that was Scrooge's son.
No, he never had kids. It was always his nephew. He never had kids. He never got married.
I thought that maybe Donald was his brother,
Maybe.
but they also have turkey for dinner, which,
Seems pretty weird, right?
yeah.
Yeah, when
So, who's your favorite Scrooge? Do you like the guy that... Do you like... Let me...
That Pennywise looking guy?
Do you like... So you said the think it was this guy that was in the Muppets. No, it was this guy. This guy was in the Muppet one. Did you like this guy, or do you like the other ones that played? I don't have everyone. There's one guy that was on Seinfeld that played Ebenezer Scrooge at a musical that I watched when I was a kid.
I still like that.
You like this one right here?
Yeah.
The guy that played in the thing. Why do you like him the most out of all the others?
He makes it kind of funny.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great thing.
And also, McDuck is wealthy.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Okay, why do you think there has been so many versions and retelling of A Christmas Carol?
Because everyone likes it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, a lot of people love it. It's like one of the top ones you have to watch every year, it seems like. Any other reasons you think there might be so popular?
Because it's like, it's hard to explain.
Well, try.
Well, it shows like your main character has like a good change of heart,
Yeah.
and it's all happy at the end.
So you like the message. You think that the
Yeah,
message
the
of the
message.
story makes it appealing to people.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing. Because, who likes a story where it's all bad? Like it starts bad, then it ends bad, and you're just like, really, what did I watch? Like, I always hate when, like, remember, like, the middle Venture movie, and, like, where everyone gets disappeared?
Yeah.
And you're like, really? That's how you're going to end this? And then they saved themselves by making the next movie and fixing every little problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they had to go kill Iron Man off and all that.
Why Iron Man?
Okay, what about the story do you think most connects with people? You kind of said this already. The story, the message of the story kind of connects with people.
Like the story itself.
How many people do you guys know anyone that was just like Scrooge? Like the before Scrooge?
I feel like Cam kind of was like the before Scrooge.
It's calling your brother. you're a brave soul. And if people on YouTube didn't hear, his brother is yelling for that thing. I can hear you.
It's just like in the back, I'm like, I can hear you.
So I hope my sister doesn't see this. My sister is kind of, we call her the Grinch. She's kind of like, she's literally like the Scrooge. Like, she literally tried to find every excuse. Like, my, before she moved to Alabama, I had surgery on my knee the day before Thanksgiving. Well, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to decorate, after having surgery on my knee. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do a week before my surgery. We're going to put everything up. And she just stayed in her room. She's like,
wow.
I don't want.
Really,
she's really hate. And part of it is because, our past, our relationship with our dad and stuff.
Yeah,
and that was his favorite holiday. I get that from him, but I can understand where some people in my family might not like it because it brings them memories.
That makes sense. Because stuff like in your past can affect you.
Yeah.
In the future.
So we don't hold it against her, but and she actually recommends sometimes Christmas movies for you to watch. Like Red One, she was one of the first ones all excited about it.
I really want to see that. It's so good.
So we're gonna watch the video. And then
Nothing stood out.
You do that all the time. It's not old. It's still not old. I've watched this video a bunch of times.
How many
today.
do you think?
3 times today. Probably 4 times in general.
That'll be the 5th today.
I'll watch it. It's a good video. Yeah. He stays over for really long then. Oh wait, I keep forgetting the things over here.
That's the thing when I'm playing a remote, I'm like just doing this, and next thing you know I hit the wrong button. Like, oh shoot.
Yeah, especially when you're like in the middle of your TV show and you accidentally turn the TV off.
Now watch this be. Please tell me this is.
You know, even when I was an atheist.
Yeah, this is the first one to think.
Yeah. His smile is a heart.
Okay. Give me a heart attack for a second.
Imagine your boss invites you to a Christmas party at his house where you've never been before. Or that hot Christmas toy you want to snag for your toddler is only available at this store way across town, a place you seldom go. Or maybe this year you want to visit a farm in the country to cut down your own Christmas tree, but you're kind of nervous because you tend to get lost. So you're faced with a problem. How will you find those locations? And the answer these days is easy. You plug the address into your navigation system in your phone or in your car, and it'll take you step by step exactly where you want to go. Well, in an analogous way, the ancient prophecies about the coming of the Messiah lead us step by step, not only to the place where he was born, but also to the very individual himself. These prophecies exclude every other individual who has ever lived and zero in on the Savior of the world. In the end, all of the pretenders are ruled out, and the baby in the manger is pinpointed as the one and only Messiah and Son of God. But critics charge that one of the key prophecies about the Messiah is based on both a mistake and a mistranslation. They say that Matthew inappropriately applied an ancient prediction to the story of Jesus' birth from a virgin. Yet is that true? Well, I'll be covering that issue as we delve into this final session of our study about Christmas. So join me as we examine whether the identity of Jesus as the Christ, the Anointed One, the Messiah of Israel and the world, is actually confirmed by ancient prophecies or not, and whether his virgin birth was foretold many centuries before that historic night when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. When bloodthirsty King Herod asked his chief priests and teachers of the law where the Messiah would be born, they didn't have to think very long before they answered. They knew the response right away. Bethlehem, they replied. So how did they know? Because the prophet Micah had foretold the birthplace hundreds of years earlier in a prophecy recorded in Micah chapter 5. Verse 2 says, "But you, Bethlehem, though you were small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me the one who will be ruler over Israel." Verse 4 says the king's greatness will reach the ends of the earth. Like using a navigation system, this prophecy helped them pinpoint the birthplace of Jesus. And that's just one of dozens of predictions about the coming Messiah that are contained in the Hebrew Scriptures. Against all odds, they were fulfilled only in Jesus, confirming his identity as the Messiah and the Son of God. But was Matthew wrong when he applied Isaiah 7 to the birth of Jesus? This passage, which was written some 700 years before the first Christmas, says, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel." Well, first, say the critics, this prophecy was for King Ahaz of Judah and was fulfilled centuries before Jesus was born, when a maiden later married and gave birth to a son. Second, they said the word virgin is a mistranslation of the Hebrew word alma, which simply means young woman. If the writer had intended to say virgin, he would have used the Hebrew word betula. It was the Greek translation of the Old Testament, called the Septuagint, that first mistranslated alma as virgin. And this mistake was picked up by Matthew. And third, the critics say, Jesus was never named Emmanuel, as Isaiah says, but he was named Jesus. So Matthew, 3 strikes, you're out. But wait a minute. Let's delve deeper into this controversy. First, yes, Isaiah's immediate prophecy was fulfilled centuries before Jesus. Some say it was with the birth of Maher-Shalal-Hash-Baz, but others dispute that because he was never called Emmanuel. But nevertheless, here's what's important. There was a broader messianic context that remained unfulfilled. You see, Isaiah's prophecy shouldn't be read in isolation. It's actually part of a larger complex of verses foretelling the Messiah. In Isaiah 7, he is about to be born. In Isaiah 9, he is already born and declared mighty God and the divine King. And in Isaiah 11, he is ruling and reigning in the supernatural power of the Spirit. So this broader context points toward the coming Messiah, which means Matthew was correct in applying it to Jesus. Second, there was no one word in biblical Hebrew that always and only meant virgin. The word that was used by Isaiah, Alma, means young maiden. And in those days, a young maiden was certainly presumed to be a virgin. In fact, get this, Alma is never used of a non-virgin, while the word betula could refer to a widow or a divorced woman who is not a virgin. As one researcher told me, if any notion of virginity were intended, even as only an implication, Alma was the best, only word to do that job. In fact, here's something really interesting. The greatest Jewish commentator on the ancient scriptures is known by the acronym Rashi. He was a medieval French rabbi whose analysis of the Jewish writings is still considered to be the centerpiece of contemporary Jewish study. Well, way back then, when he studied Isaiah 7:14, this is what he said. He said, "And some interpret that this is the sign that she was a young girl in Alma, and," he said, "incapable of giving birth." As scholar Michael Brown told me, Rashi was acknowledging that some Jewish experts did interpret the text to mean that God's sign to Ahaz had to do with the highly unusual nature of the birth. Here was a young girl in Alma for whom giving birth would not be normal. The birth itself would be unusual or perhaps even supernatural. It's very interesting, isn't it? And finally, what about the fact that Isaiah said the child would be called Emmanuel, and yet that name was never conferred on Jesus? Well, you see, biblical names are often symbolic. Emmanuel literally means God with us. And for hundreds of millions of people all around the planet, that is exactly who Jesus is. He's God with us. And so in the deepest and most ultimate way, he is Emmanuel. Friends, billions of people have lived in the world throughout history. Only one of them, only one, has managed to fulfill dozens of these ancient prophecies, including the ones that needed to be fulfilled before the second Jewish temple was destroyed in AD 70. These Old Testament predictions foretold his ancestry. He would be a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, from the tribe of Judah, the house of David. The Psalms foretold his betrayal, his accusation by false witnesses, and his manner of death, pierced in the hands and feet, even though crucifixion hadn't even been invented yet, and foretold his resurrection. He would not decay, but would ascend on high. And then this. The prophet Isaiah, some 7 centuries before Jesus' birth in Bethlehem, painted a picture of a Messiah who would suffer and die for the sins of Israel and the world. Listen to this word sketch in Isaiah 53 and ask yourself, who might this be describing? He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquities of all of us. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent. So he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death. Though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth, for he bore the sins of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. You see, friends, the real purpose of Christmas is Easter. In other words, Jesus was born to die. That was his mission. As Luke 19:10 says, it was to seek and save the lost. Jesus didn't just come to show bad people how they should live. He came so that dead people could come alive. Through his atoning death on the cross, he paid for the sins of you and me, so that the doors of heaven could be flung open wide for us. As one mathematical analysis showed, the chance of any individual fulfilling just 48 of these ancient prophecies would be one chance in a trillion, 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 trillion. Now, scientists have one phrase to describe the likelihood of meeting those odds. Ain't gonna happen. And yet, Jesus did it. There's no way he could have intentionally maneuvered his life to fulfill the prophecies. How could he arrange for his ancestry, or his place of birth, his method of execution, that soldiers gambled for his clothing, that his legs remained unbroken on the cross? How could he arrange to be born at a specific point in history that Daniel foretold centuries earlier? How could he arrange to perform miracles in front of skeptics? How could he arrange for the Sanhedrin to offer Judas 30 pieces of silver to betray him? How could he have arranged for his resurrection? No. Prominent Old Testament scholar Walter Kaiser put it this way: a straightforward understanding and application of the Jewish text leads one straight to the Messiah and to Jesus of Nazareth. In fact, this is going to blow your mind. In ancient Israel, the priests on the Day of Atonement would go into the temple in Jerusalem to offer animal sacrifices to God as a way of atoning for the sins of the people. In my interview with Dr. Michael Brown, the Messianic Jewish professor who's a leading expert on the prophecies, he told me something astounding that I hadn't realized. He said there's a rabbinic tradition preserved in the Talmud that says on the Day of Atonement, there would be 3 different signs that the animal sacrifices the high priest had offered had been accepted by God and atonement given to the nation of Israel. In the years when the signs would come up negative, the people would be ashamed and mourn because God had not accepted their sacrifice. Then it says that during the last 40 years before the second temple was destroyed, all 3 signs were negative each and every time. So think about that. Jesus probably was crucified in AD 30, and the temple was destroyed in AD 70. So from the time of his death to the time of the destruction of the temple, a period of 40 years, God signaled that he no longer accepted the sacrifices and offerings of the Jewish people. Why? Because the final atonement had been made through Yeshua, Jesus, just as had been prophesied. He added this: what sacrifice is great enough to cover the guilt of the entire world? Who is pure enough? Who's perfect enough? Only this one, the great Son of God, takes the sin and guilt of the entire world on his own shoulders and dies on behalf of our sins so that we can receive forgiveness, cleansing, and righteousness. So many Jewish people have found Jesus as their Messiah by following the clues of these ancient prophecies. My friend, Louis Lapidus, was a soldier who returned disillusioned from Vietnam. He was prodded by a street evangelist to go on a quest to find Jesus in the Jewish scriptures, which he did. And through these ancient prophecies for the Messiah that only Jesus managed to fulfill, Louis became a follower of Christ and actually became a pastor as well. And then my friend Stan Telchin. He was an East Coast businessman who became incensed after his daughter went away to college and became a follower of Jesus. So he embarked on a project to expose this cult of Christianity. And he was astonished to find that his investigation led him and his wife and their second daughter to the same Messiah. He also later became a minister of the gospel as well. And where did all this start? It began that first Christmas in an obscure little town of 500 or 600 people with a baby wrapped in cloths and nestled in the hay of a manger. I'm reminded of the Christmas carol that says, "Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light." Isn't that a beautiful way to put it? Yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our journey through Christmas, and that for you this holiday season will be a time of great reflection, of joyous celebration, of renewed faith, of comfort and hope, and of the sharing of this story of Christ's redemptive drama far and wide. If there's one thing to take away from this study, it's this: Christmas is not a legend. It's not make-believe. It's not wishful thinking. It's not a fairy tale. It's not mythology. But it's based on a solid foundation of historical truth. That ought to drive our faith deeper and deeper into our hearts and minds. So have fun this Christmas with some peripheral customs and activities associated with the holiday. Nothing wrong with those things. It's great to get together with family and friends. It's fun to give and receive gifts. It's a joy to help those who are in need at Christmas time. But beyond that, I trust that our time together has cemented your faith in the reality of the incarnation, that mysterious and inspiring process by which the eternal became time-bound, visiting our world and ultimately liberating us from sin and death. Because of Christmas, there is hope. Because of Christmas, we have a future. Because of Christmas, our Savior is near, He's available, He's reaching out to us day by day. You know, the second chapter of Philippians captures it all so well when it describes the wonder and the beauty and the power of the incarnation. You know, there are indications that its words might be from an early creed of the church, or even more intriguingly, from a hymn that was sung by the earliest Christians, right there in the first century. Perhaps, in a sense, it was even the very first Christmas carol. So as we wrap up our final session together, let its poetic language encourage you this Christmas. It says, Jesus Christ, being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father.
Why are you punching the air?
We did like, we went to university one day and it was just punched.
I destroyed
But we went to university and they had this like thing that showed your punch strength.
Let's finish this up.
Oh yeah. I don't know if
What?
and this the machine for the head of the punch.
it.
Okay, let's finish this up.
So it was calling you weak, basically.
So what's on the video?
Oh. How people supernatural birth.
Okay, yeah. Anything else?
It was mainly like a review of everything that we learned.
Yeah, kind of. It did talk a little more about the prophecies. Do you know anything about the Isaiah prophecies that was famous?
Yeah.
What was it about? Pastor actually spoke about this exact passage this past Sunday, which is kind of funny to think about.
I got
'Cause-
something.
What?
That he humbled himself, basically, that they
Yeah.
called humans servants. He humbled himself to that degree and was obedient to death. That's what stood out to me.
That's good. Okay, so notes from the thing. The Bible prophecies about the coming of the Messiah lead us not only to the place where he would be born, but to the very individual himself. In the end, only the baby in the manger can be pinpointed as the one and only Messiah and the Son of God. The prophet Micah had foretold the birthplace of the Messiah hundreds of years before the time of Christ. So when Herod asked his chief priests and teachers where the Messiah would be born, they knew the answer right away: Bethlehem. Now, the funny part is, do you know there's 2 Bethlehems in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the other one?
That must
I
get
don't
really
know, but I've
confusing.
heard that there's 2.
So right by Nazareth.
Oh.
So I don't know if we have it here, but there's Nazareth right here, and it's somewhere. I think it might be like Bethmanis or something like that. But yeah, there's another Bethlehem right around here. So some people even think, oh, actually his birth is actually up here closer to his hometown. but it wouldn't go that well with prophecy. Okay. Critics say Matthew was wrong when he applied Isaiah 7:4. You remember that from the video?
Yeah.
No.
3 strikes, you're out, Matthew.
Yeah, 3 strikes,
yeah.
Matthew was out.
I did say that.
It did say that. What was the 3? Do you even remember the 3 strikes?
Oof, I don't know.
No.
So, in Isaiah 7:4, to the birth of Jesus, because the prophet referred to King Isaiah. The word virgin was a mistranslation, and Jesus was not named Emmanuel. So, in other words, when they use the word virgin in the original Hebrew, when they wrote Isaiah, it was more young maiden. So a young man that couldn't have birth or something like that. If you wanted to use the word virgin in the original Hebrew, he would have used a different word. Now, when we get virgin nowadays, it's because after the exile, a king, no, I don't know if it was a king or something, but one of the guys in Egypt brought some of the best scholars of Jewish history and put them in prison. And what he did was he wanted to make sure that they could, because again, remember Jews, if you were a teacher, you knew the whole entire book front to back to front. So he put them in separate cells and he said, write them in Greek. And that's where they get the word virgin from, because they made the Greek was brought in as virgin.
Why didn't he just ask?
He did, but he wanted to make sure that they were under pressure and all that stuff to make sure that everyone said the exact same thing, so they were exactly right. So he could add it to his library.
Well, just say copy each other.
Well, no, he didn't want that. That's why he put them in prison in separate areas. They had no contact with each other. They were all by themselves. They were writing.
It was like an isolated quiz.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. And they had to write the whole thing in Hebrew and Greek and all this to make sure that they were exactly right.
Oh, so if one of them was different from the other, they got killed?
I don't know if they got killed, but he's like, there's a problem here. He's like, you guys are supposed to know all this. Again, Jesus was not called Emmanuel. He was called Jesus.
Wow, big shocker there.
Yeah. So, but in the prophecy in Isaiah 7:4, it says that a virgin, or in other words, in the real thing, a maiden will give birth to a son, and they'll call him Emmanuel.
Well, he is Emmanuel, God with us.
Yes, he is with us, but again, they said they'll call him. His name would be Emmanuel. Now, my past, so be quick. Next time you go to the bathroom, your phone gets left here.
Okay.
I was about to say it was almost like half hour.
Was
It
it?
was like the whole video.
The whole video is like 22 minutes. You left before the video.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I left when it.
Because when the video started, I went out and checked on you because you were gone for a while.
No,
Yeah. Trust me, I know.
the video started.
No, because I just went to sit down. I went to go check something. I'm like, oh, I got to go check on him because it's been a while. We were literally reviewing the video before the video, the pre-video stuff.
Oh, I thought you put it on the screen.
Nope, not yet. I was still doing the pre-video stuff. So you're gone probably 10 minutes from that, then 20-something minutes later.
Oh.
Yeah, no phone on your bathroom. Okay, so Pastor was talking about this Sunday. There's 3 views of this passage. There is the Jewish view, which is it's only a prophecy during the time of Isaiah, which we see already be fulfilled, as a sign of King Ahaz. For King Ahaz, Isaiah is right. The majority of Christian views is it's a Messiah, it's a Jesus prophecy. It's only about Jesus. It's not about the days of Isaiah. It's not about that. Then there's the middle view, which is yes, it's a prophecy about the time of Isaiah, but it's also a prophecy about Jesus. Which, after listening to Pastor on Sunday, that's where I stand. I did not. That's something I learned recently.
May I use the bathroom?
Quick! You do know there's 2 bathrooms. You could have went when she had to go.
I thought you made a rule that only one person.
If you ask and you guys are going, and you're going to be quick and not be like, oh, let's go, and if you're not, you guys aren't dating. I don't think Harry and Colton are dating.
Ew. You
Okay.
agree with me on that.
So again, now we're going to look at the 3 strikes individually. Strike 1. First, there was a broader what happens with this. First, there is a broader messianic context that remains unfilled.
Unfulfilled?
Yeah. Second, there was no one word in biblical Hebrew that is only meant virgin. And then third, biblical names are often symbolic. Jesus is Emmanuel.
Oh.
Okay.
Soda.
Billions of people have lived in history, but only Jesus managed to fulfill the dozens of ancient prophecies required to be the Messiah. The real purpose of Christmas is Easter. Am I right?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Is the
I
real?
remember it from the video.
Well, okay. So what's more important in Christian history, in Christian holidays? Easter, Christmas,
Easter
and why?
that's when he was resurrected.
Yeah, he dies. He's resurrected. Without Christmas, you don't have Easter. But without Easter, you really don't have Christmas.
Yeah.
Through Jesus' atonement and death on the cross, he paid for our sins. So the doors of heaven could be flung open. Why? For us. As Dr. Michael Brown, which I'm kind of not a big fan of him.
Why?
Certain thing,
Is he dumb?
no, smart guy. And I thought I knew him, but he says one thing and then he does the opposite.
Oh, so
Like,
he kind of contradicts
Yeah, he
himself.
calls out some people, some Jewish, not Jewish, but some Christian teachers that he should be calling out, or saying, I'll call them out for what you're saying is true, but then go back them up to their church and say, oh, these guys are amazing. Like, yeah, no, you said that they're teaching this, they're wrong.
Choose one.
Yeah, choose one. Yeah, Pastor actually sent me a video of him doing that. And I'm like, yeah, nope, I'm done. So he concludes saying, and again, there's some stuff that he says that's really good, like this quote. What sacrifice is great enough to cover the guilt of the entire world? Who's pure enough? Who's perfect enough? Only this one, the Son, the great Son of God. Paul captures it as well in Philippians 2, verses 6 to 11, when he describes the wonder and beauty and power of the incarnation. Perhaps it's a sense it was even the very first Christmas carol. Okay, now we're going to have some discussions. In general, how would you describe the relationship between the Old Testament and the New Testament?
The Old Testament was before Jesus, and the New Testament was after Jesus.
Okay.
Well,
That-
during Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah.
But what is their relationship with
I would
each other?
say
Prophecies in the
Old Testament prophesies what's gonna happen in the New Testament.
Okay, yeah.
So basically what I said.
Yeah, no, you guys are, like I said, you guys both have some really good points. It's kind of like, so when you guys watched the American Gospel, they kind of talked about how, you know, from Genesis to Revelation, it's just one big story. And it all points to Christ and every little thing. Genesis to Revelation. Okay, now a sub-question to that one. How important is it that the Old Testament prophecies concerning the Messiah are fulfilled in Jesus in the New Testament?
Extremely important. Because if they weren't fulfilled, he wouldn't be the Messiah.
Okay, yeah. He took what you have got to say too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys, that's just the perk of having, being siblings, right? You
Ready,
steal
set,
sometimes from
minds.
him, and he steals sometimes from you.
We think alike.
Yeah.
Dad steals $20.
I don't think that counts in this sense.
But yeah, so it's very important, because if he doesn't,
He's obviously.
then we're really looking for somebody else now.
He's like a normal dude.
And
Yeah.
then our life and teachings will be a lie.
Yep.
And we got
Okay. Does somebody want to read Philippians 2, 1 to 11?
You really like to read, don't you?
Well, I'm just testing out my
His knowledge.
book finding ability.
You're doing good.
Book finding ability.
While you're looking, I'm going to go put this.
Is it in the Old
It's in the New
Oh.
This is, if you met Gil, this is his favorite book of the Bible.
Philippians?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he told me that recently.
Which one? 2, 1.
Philippians
11?
chapter 2, the very first verse to the 11th verse.
Okay, you can do it.
No, Colin. You agreed to do it. Test
Is
your
there
book
any
finding.
encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? As your hearts tender and Are your hearts tender and compassionate? Then make me truly happy and agreeing wholehearted with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try and impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being when he appeared in human form. He humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross. Therefore, God elevated him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names. That at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth. And every tongue that declare Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory to God the Father. God the Father.
Okay. Good job. So what strikes you as you hear this description, or in Coden's case, reads it, of Christ humbling himself? So what strikes you? What makes him interest?
Becoming a man.
Becoming a man.
That he didn't want to.
Well, no. We'll talk about that a little bit later, because I do have a question about that too. Now, I will say some people try to use these verses out of context.
How so?
Well, they said that he gave up his divinity. Well, he didn't fully give up his divinity. He gave his glory.
His divinity, as in saying, "Oh, well, he wasn't good enough."
Well, no, he had no power.
He
That
gave
is
up his
very
power.
inaccurate.
Well, yeah, but again, when it says he gave up his divinity, it's in the Bible.
Well, that's out of context.
Well, yeah, you gotta look at the verses around it too, and the other verses in the Bible that say that.
Didn't you say you had like one person look out of context? There was a verse in the Bible that said something about aliens, and he was like, "Oh, aliens are real."
Oh yeah, no, it happens because in some translations they use foreigners and they use aliens instead of foreigners.
What were the aliens?
They were just foreigners, people from different countries that were coming in. But okay, let's get back. So he gave up his glory, and in other words, what they're trying to say with that divinity is glory. But he still had his power and all, and his knowledge, because he knew exactly what people were thinking, what people were saying behind his back, kind of. He knew all that.
He's smart.
Yes. Well, at the age of 12, he was discussing with the religious leaders. He literally had biblical discussions with the religious leaders at the age of 12.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
He was only a year older than me.
Okay, so what does the passage mean to you personally? I just noticed this. We got a rose between two thorns.
What's that supposed to mean, huh?
You never heard that saying before?
Are you trying to be offensive to us?
I'm trying to get her to just smile.
Well, I think you just made her feel more awkward instead.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Okay, so what does the passage mean to you personally?
Veronica.
Guys, the faster we get this done, the faster we can do presents and things.
It's like
Games.
It's 6:32.
Yeah, we have like an hour before we get done. Okay, so what does the passage mean to you personally? Any ideas? We talked about how it strikes you, how certain things strike you about him humbling himself. What does that mean? Him humbling himself. How does that mean to you?
When he does a miracle, he's like it wasn't me, it was God.
Yeah. Which is weird because it's kind of like he is God.
He
Yeah.
is God.
It's weird.
But the fact that he's humbling himself, it's like,
It's perfect.
does that mean I should think highly of myself?
No,
Why not?
because you're
That's pretty
not
cool.
God.
No. But who as a human throughout history could think highly of themselves?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah, but who has the right to?
Jesus.
Jesus, but did he?
No.
No.
No. So if he's humble, then we definitely need to be humble.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you respond to the idea the real purpose of Christmas is Easter? How does that make you feel?
It made me feel confused when you said it earlier.
Okay.
Because the first part to me made sense. The first half, there isn't Easter without Christmas.
Yep.
But then you said there isn't Christmas without Easter.
Well, yes, because Christmas is
The birth of the Messiah.
Yeah. So without Christmas, without him coming down, we wouldn't have Easter.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't God and he didn't die, then there's no point of celebrating Christmas.
Because he would just be
what I
normal
thought you
dude.
meant was Christmas just wouldn't exist.
Well, it probably would. It'd probably be something else. Just because if we weren't celebrating Jesus, we probably wouldn't call it Christmas because it's Christ Mass.
We'd probably call it
Xmas.
Giftmas.
Well, Xmas would have been the same thing because in ancient Greek, Christ, the first letter C was actually an X. It was pronounced C. So that's why they started. And so in some of the Greek, instead of having Christ, they would just have a capital X to sort the thing because paper's hard to get. Okay, how do you connect the two holidays in your life?
The whole question.
Both
Candy.
Christmas? They both have candy. Yeah, that's a good point.
You both have families gathering.
Okay, what advice would you give someone who doesn't see the connection between them? So, is there any advice you could give to somebody that doesn't see?
Explain the candy part.
Okay. What has this 4-week study meant to you?
Well, I guess technically 2 or 3 weeks for some of us.
Okay.
I don't know because I wasn't here for
What he said.
So, what about Christmas?
Celebrating
Christmas.
it.
Celebrating?
It's
Okay.
Jesus.
Jesus? Yeah, okay.
Christmas, Jesus.
Yeah, celebrating basically Jesus on
Okay.
Christmas and Easter.
Now, because poor Anne,
Was like,
I'll make you say one because for today's lesson, but everyone come up with 2 or 3 things that you've learned as a result of this time together. But as I said, Anne, I'm okay with 1 or 2. So you just pick something you learned today.
And for us?
2 to 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna think of 2.
Same
Okay,
here.
so what's some stuff that you've learned this past couple weeks? You want to go first?
I was gonna say something about I don't know.
Okay.
That Jesus wasn't actually born on the 25th.
Okay, that's a good one.
I was gonna say that, but I was
Oh, you
also
took it now.
thinking that's when the wise men were prophesied to come.
You thought that beforehand?
Okay.
Wow.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Cross and death.
The what?
The cross and death. I forgot.
Crossing. Oh, the Easter and
Yeah.
Christmas connection.
That he was thought to be born on March 20th to 25th.
Okay.
I got one. It was in the documentary we watched, the thing about
Yep.
Jupiter,
Mhm.
the other star.
Yep.
I can't really
Right.
explain it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Making the halo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've learned there's no inn. That was probably just a family room, and that he was born in there. A bunch of other stuff like that. Okay.
You need to give us 2
So there's that.
or 3.
Let's see here. What's another one?
That there was probably more than 3 wise men.
I already knew that one.
I didn't know that either.
I learned a lot about what people think about Christmas. That's not true, including pastors that preach about it.
A man coming out of a rock with a
Okay,
hat.
so
Yeah,
what are questions? So are there any questions you've had that got answered during the series?
I didn't know that there was a guy that came out of rock.
That's a good one.
I
But yeah,
second
so
that.
any other questions that got answered during the series?
If anyone was born from something that wasn't like its mother.
Okay, anything about the Jesus story? Anything about the Jesus story that you had questions about that it got answered?
If Jesus was like rip off or if he inspired others.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, so since you guys don't have any questions that were answered, what are unanswered questions are still rolling around in your minds?
Oh, I was looking at that one. And I was shaking my head.
How did Mary give birth when she was literally only like
16?
Through the divine
Okay,
intervention of God.
so we're gonna go into biology a little bit here.
Puberty?
Yeah, once you hit puberty,
Finish
you
the
can start having
question.
kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you would have been of age to marry.
You could probably have a kid when you're 6.
No, I don't want to.
Let's not get into this conversation.
No.
But that's how she's of age to get married, and then the Holy Spirit, comes down.
Yeah.
So, any other questions you guys might have? Because I have at least one more question I know on a different slide.
I don't have any. I don't know about anyone.
Okay. So now, what is the true Christmas story then? Give me like a rough draft.
That Mary and Joseph
Mhm.
went to Bethlehem,
Yep.
Wise men.
knocked on doors, were refused.
Okay, so we don't know that part.
Maybe.
Because they would have went to a family home and not to some stranger's house or knocking on the doors.
Yeah.
They would have gone to a bunch of their families.
Well, wouldn't it be a crime if?
Yeah, it would have been a crime if they would. Remember, it would have been a crime if they would just say go away.
Because they're in
It's
the
a
lineage
pregnant
of
woman.
David.
Yep, the lineage of David. She's a pregnant young
She's
woman,
a descendant.
and and Jews were very hospitable people. You see it all the way from Abraham. Abraham sees some stranger walking on the street. He's like, come with me, come with me. Let's go to my tent. We'll feed you. You can spend the night if you need to. Like, they were very big on helping people. Because even God said, hey, when you have people from foreigners, immigrants in your country, take care of them, help them. Don't push them away because they're not Jewish.
Well, if they're illegal.
We'll get into that in the next Bible study we're
Does
doing.
that mean if they have a firearm and drugs equipped that I have to take them in?
So here's how I have it. Mary.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if they knocked on doors. We went to the what was it, like a barn?
In.
They went so they went to their family. So they went to their family's home, Joseph's family,
Catalina.
and there was no room in the Catalima,
Oh,
the guest room. So in Jewish tradition, you would have 3 rooms, 2 to 3 rooms. The first room was where the animals slept at night.
Stable.
It wasn't really a stable. It was an indoor thing.
You had animals living in the house with you?
You got cold, the animals would help heat the house.
Snuggle.
Their heat would come up. And the animals would leave during the day and come in at night. Now, they would have another room right next to it called the family room, where you ate, slept, did all of your chores, and the animals came in. They would come up and down everywhere, and they would come here, and you have a manger in there. Then, if you were somewhat well off, or you had the ability to build it, you would build a guest room, where if you had people staying, no, the guest room would now have animals. But you would have, if you had close family, so let's say I have a guest room and you guys came to visit, you guys would stay in the guest room. Now, when Joseph and Mary get there, there's so much family. You would have to say either way, family room or the guest room. There's so many people that there's no room in a guest room for them to have privacy. Guys, pay attention here.
Yeah, pay attention.
So they had to be in the family room. So it wasn't no stable, no, it wasn't no cave, it's just a house. There was no inns. Huh?
Normal house.
Yep, it's a normal house in those days.
Yeah, and
So, and do the wise men come right away after the birth?
No, like
No.
2 years.
Roughly 2 years, yeah. Okay, now, the question, he talked a little bit about this. Did God kill Jesus?
Kind of.
Now, because he said kind of, I want to hear his response here.
Because he planned to have him killed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was his will.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have made through other people it happen. But there was the people who actually killed him.
Okay, so now,
I think God himself did not kill him,
so you don't
It was
think
his
God
will.
killed him.
but he.
But wouldn't that be, if it's God's will, wouldn't he have put it into effect?
I agree with Colin.
So some people kind of put God as this child killer.
Child killer.
Because, no offense, you have a baby born to die. So a famous theologian has said this. Did God kill Jesus?
Well, if God.
Yes.
If God was a child
Let me-
killer,
let me-
I would be dead.
Hey, let me finish. Did Jesus not willingly go to the cross?
He did not want to.
No, but did he go?
Yes.
Yes.
Could he have stopped it?
Yes.
No.
So he willfully did go to the cross.
Well, God forced him.
No, he didn't. Because
Well, it was his
remember,
will.
Trinity, God is one. So Jesus and God would have to be like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
So God is kind of killing himself, but not
Kind
really.
of, yeah. But yeah,
Isn't that
but
suicide?
but again, so the saying was this: God loved us so much and loved his son so much that he gave him to us. Jesus loved the Father and us so much that he didn't fight it. He willfully came to the earth to do this. So, and he was co-equal with God. He agreed this is what's going to happen. So yes, we could say yes, God kind of killed Jesus, but Jesus did not have a non-say in what happened. So he did not just go and be like, oh, yeah, this is not going to happen. Yeah. So this is what Vaughn said. Did God kill Jesus? Yes. Did Jesus go to the cross unwillingly? No.
Put your dogs away.
So that's it.
Do it.
I like a stretch.
So
I like a stretch.
you guys can do your presents.
Who's this? Oh,